Pete Hegseth is CEO of Concerned Veterans for America and an Iraq and Afghanistan combat war veteran. Pete, good to see you. And
Thanks for having
so
me.
there are at least two proposals now on the table about to try to find $1 trillion in cuts. And one is to cut the pay of our military, and one is to basically cut the place where they go and they buy things like food and supplies. And
the commissaries, the grocery
stores. So it says, you don't need that. And so let's get rid of that. And the reaction from military families is, okay, we've got to make some cuts. We get that. Why do we go first? Why do we always have to go first?
No, and that's a legitimate reaction. Two important caveats, and Megan, you know this. We're in uncharted fiscal territory, $17 trillion in debt. We don't have the same sort of resources we've always had to fund DOD as robustly as we did during wartime. So we're going to have to make tough decisions. At the same time, there's not enough in the Pentagon budget to be cut today. It's a $600 billion budget in order to balance our books. So we're not going to balance America's fiscal woes on the backs of defense. But that's why it's so frustrating for military families to see things like pay and benefits and military grocery stores and compensation being the first things discussed when we talk about reducing the Pentagon budget. There's a lot of waste and fat to be cut at DOD. Let's be smart and serious about how to attack it, but there's no the problem is that private on post doesn't have a lobbyist in Washington protecting him, but the defense contractors and weapon systems do. So there's a lot of political calculations here, and I don't think it's smart to start with the pay and compensation, even though eventually everything in some way is going to have to be on the table.
You know, the thing is, and there are a lot of Republicans who want to see cuts and the sequester and so on, and they support that, and that'll include some cuts in the military department as well. But the question is whether you have to start with the actual service personnel and their pay. Now, I know their pay has gone up more than it's gone up in the average private sector for certain workers over the past few years. But it's not that high, Pete. I mean, we've got a chart. I think the average pay is $45,000 a year for a single person, and married with two children, $49,000. So they want to cut that, and they want to cut, commissaries. But the question I have for you is, how does that play when you see stories like our lead story, where you got the feds just doling out checks to the insurance, like we're going to trust them.
They're throwing out bailout money. They're throwing bailouts to insurance.
That's going to work out okay.
And no one's getting rich joining the military. That's an E4 pay that you just showed. Privates make even less than that. And so that is what's so frustrating. You see this government wasting gobs and gobs of money elsewhere, yet they now want to pinch pennies on warfighters and take away fringe benefits. Now, you know what? Those who have served understand enough to know, hey, I've sacrificed before. I can sacrifice again. I understand these are austere times, but my goodness, how frustrating it is to watch the government waste so much and then realize that we're not only cutting the fat in the Pentagon budget, but with sequestration and some of the policies we've pursued, we're cutting into the muscle. This isn't just about benefits. This is about training and maintenance and operations and all the things our military units need to do in order to be the best fighting force in the world. That's what's so dangerous about the nature of a lot of these cuts.
Yeah, so you see, Lois Lerner at the IRS is going to retire on the taxpayer's dime, and you see these wasteful, conferences that some of these agencies go to with the line dancing and so on. And, the military, well, they're going to need to cut their salaries. Pete, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Megan.